Hello.
Hello.
We have got some guests on the show today that I feel like you're going to love, and I'm just going to take a back seat and let you guys talk about it.
Look, I'm very excited about this one. These guys they're like the triple threats of the adventure world. They can do it all, and they just love to push themselves out of their comfort zone, which is excellent.
They've got a new movie called Chase That Feeling, and we're going to chase that feeling with them today. That kind of worked.
Oh, great lead in.
The Brown Podcast.
What's in the cup today? What have you got?
Just soda water today.
Just soda water?
Just soda water. Why do you ask?
No, because I know that sometimes when we've got guests on the show, you have a cup of something.
A cup of something, yes. And
normally you hide it well in last time when we were speaking to Nat Bass, you had a beer in a teacup.
It was a nice pink mug with just a little brewski in there.
You didn't want to look uncouth, so you put your beer in a teacup. It was lovely.
Look, the last thing I wanted to do was look unprofessional.
Yeah. Okay, today our guests are two gentlemen by the name of Blake Thornton and Matt Gilsenan. They've got a new movie coming out called Chase That Feeling, where they've been filming themselves for the past 7 years, getting out of their comfort zone. And we've got the boys on the line. G'day, guys. How are you?
G'day, guys.
Thanks for having us.
So how did it all come about? Just take us back to how this whole thing came about.
I actually love telling this story. So me and Matt, me and Gilso, we've been friends forever, right? And, I've surfed a lot, and we used to kind of go on surf trips, and we were actually in Mexico for a month, and we're doing a lot of filming, and the purpose was kind of to put out a surf edit, which was just going to be surf.
Yeah.
But along the way, we were catching buses, staying in people's backyards in their little huts and stuff, and we were meeting a lot of people and kind of interacting with locals a lot, and Gilso kind of just started capturing more of that kind of content. After the trip, we put out the surf edit, which was cool, but then Gilso made an edit called The Journey Begins.
The Journey Begins, yeah.
Yeah, The Journey Begins, and it was literally probably like 3 waves of surfing. It's a 5-minute video, and the rest is just the lifestyle and the travel and the people, and that got insane traction. And I think that was kind of the light bulb moment where we're like, there's people enjoy this stuff as much, if not more, than just the surfing, the action. So that's kind of where I think the kind of the real idea was spawned. Let's
go through where you've been, because it seems like you've been to all 4 corners of the world.
Yeah. Look, in this, it's not to say we're not going to do another one of these. So
sequel coming up.
It's possible. It's a never-ending concept. Canada, Alaska, which we kind of bundled into one. They're kind of neighbours in a sense. We went to Tahiti, which was purely surf. We went to Iceland, which is a very special place. We just dipped across the Tasman in New Zealand, and we did a fair bit of stuff just in our backyard here, where I kind of am now, south coast of New South Wales and Australia.
Best moment of it? What's the absolute highlight? Because, looking at the trailer for the movie, you guys have got some mammoth balls because you were jumping off cliffs. You were flying, you were surfing, you were in the ice. Was there one special moment out of all of that where you guys just went, that was just insane?
For me, Alaska was probably the highlight moment. There was a place, there's expectations of Alaska being like these huge dramatic mountains, and obviously to go there we had we pretty much had like a 5-day window, but film crews, snowboarders go there and sit there for a month, and wait for the weather to clear, where the snow's to be stable enough to snowboard, and the whole build up, the flight out there, Blake being out of his element, and just the sheer size and magnitude was just like this. It was one of the most special moments in my entire life. And then to obviously snowboard, something that I've only dreamt about and watched in snowboard movies when I was growing up. Like that's by far biggest highlight of my life.
Was there an avalanche or something that I saw in the cliff?
Yeah, so that was actually in Canada. snowboarder that we were with hit this big backcountry jump, and he crashed on the landing, and then just the impact just made the whole face crack and slide, and then he kind of got dragged down. And thankfully, like his technique of trying to stay on top of it, he stayed on top of it. But it was like 50 square meters of at least a foot deep snow, so, maybe even 2 foot deep. So yeah, really dangerous moment where it just really shows you that Mother Nature's in control out there. You got to be really careful what you do and really make smart decisions.
Was there any moment where you guys thought, this is it, we've gone too far, and we're going to kill ourselves?
Yeah, probably several times.
Perfect.
We're really calculated though. We have a lot of faith in kind of our ability and our our bodies, physical fitness and stuff like that. So, but there was definitely times where we question things, and I don't know. We just kind of we trusted our ability to get us through those moments, and touch wood, we did get through those moments. But yeah, there's definitely a ton of heart in your mouth moments just on the adventures, and it's all, you can see it all in the film too. You
guys are like triple threats, so you can skydive, surf, snowboard. What else can you do? Like, holy shit! I mean, if I could do one of those things well, I'd be pretty pumped.
Full disclosure, so I can't skydive on my own.
Right.
I get tossed out though. We're lucky. We got a friend who's a tandem master. But yeah, Gils can do all three. But then as far as like what else, I don't know.
The fly suit that I saw you guys wearing.
Yeah, that's Gils can talk about that.
Yeah, we were wearing wingsuits. We did a helicopter jump in Alaska. Not in Alaska, in Iceland, and we wore wingsuits, and it was this volcano kind of glacier area. And yeah, that was one of those moments where it was good in theory in the planning and the lead up to it, but then as it sort of all started coming together and the weather cleared and the chopper was arriving and zipping our wingsuits up, I was like, what the hell are we doing?
Yeah.
And then it's human flight, it's the ultimate feeling of human flight. Like you would imagine what Superman feels flying across the sky. That's exactly what you feel. The suit inflates, and just you're going across the sky 200 k's an hour, and those big suits have a glide ratio of 3 to 1, so 3 meters forward to 1 meter down. So you're covering a lot of ground. So
yeah,
it's a really special feeling.
And had you done it before then, in a wingsuit?
Yeah. That was probably my 340th skydive or something. So usually you do. You have to do at least 100 skydives before you can wear a tracking suit, which is just like an inflatable kind of suit. That's the step in the right direction towards wingsuiting. Wingsuiting, you have to have a minimum of 200 skydives. Mm-hmm. And then so pretty much from 200 to 300 skydives, I wore a smaller sort of beginner wingsuit. And then after 300, that's when I got the biggest suit, which has the glide ratio, which is also more dangerous as far as trying to got to keep it in control. Like the big suit's like a Ferrari, so there's small suit's like a Holden Marina or something like that.
Yeah.
Perfect. So by my calculations, I've only got 200 skydives to go. Perfect.
Yeah, I've got 300. So
skydiving definitely a really special part of everything, and obviously like BT said, we've got a really good childhood friend. Scotty Disco is also in the movie. He kind of got me into it. He's a tandem master, professional skydiver now. It's really nice to have someone that you can trust, leaning on throughout. It's such a foreign thing to be given a backpack with material and strings in it, and then the door opens in the plane and you're like, that's okay, go on, jump out.
Yeah.
It's such a unique sport in the sense that usually most people go on airplanes and it's just like the doors are shut, it's nice and warm, you're getting your cup of tea, you're getting your cheese and biscuits, and then it's just to see human beings basically get sucked out and diving out of a perfectly good airplane. It's just like it goes against everything that your mind's telling you what not to do.
Is the wingsuit then the next evolution of that? Because you would just jump straight out and hope for the best, wouldn't you? Do you have a parachute or anything with that? Or
you got to have a parachute. So with the skydiving rigs, you've got a main parachute and you've got a reserve. So you have to have, it's just the way that they're designed, you have a spare one. But yeah, basically you just to get stable and figuring out how to use your body in the air to sort of balance and stuff, you got to obviously skydive without a wingsuit, and it's still like so much fun. It's just such an amazing feeling, the rush of the wind, and you're looking at the ground's rushing up at you. It's really, if you've ever done a tandem, it's like that, but then you're in control when it's a solo. You've got your own parachute. But again, that comes with its, risk as far as once the parachute opens, that's you're halfway there. Then you've got to actually land. Well, most of the injuries happen in skydiving with the parachute open, so you're turning low to the ground, or they don't get there in time, or the wind, obstacles like trees and power lines and stuff. So half the battle, the most enjoyable part for me is the free fall, but then a lot of people skydive just for the canopy work and just to fly the parachute down. But yeah, for me, I just wanted to use a parachute just to get me to the ground safely.
In the wingsuit, how do you land?
So the wingsuit, so you pull a parachute, but basically you kind of collapse. You collapse because when you're going so fast forward, you've got your body movements have to be symmetrical. So then when you pull your pilot chute for the parachute to start opening, you want to be going in a nice straight line, because if you start leaning to one side, that's when malfunctions can happen with your parachute. So you just got to pull it going, in a really straight, direct line. So you collapse your your side wings behind your body, and then you throw your pilot chute out. So it's just timing, and you're really just trying to balance on the air as you're flying forward. So it's just technique.
So did you think, Christo? I think Christo thinks that maybe you had to just flap your wings just as you come into land.
I've got no idea. That's why I'm asking so many questions about it. I'm how the hell?
I know. Well, yeah,
it's not a bird, man.
The wingsuits now they're like, you're able to gain altitude. Like they're designed them so that you can go down and you're using gravity, but they've designed them so then you can kind of gain a little bit of altitude and kind of come to a point where you're sort of moving up. Well, a lot of the base jumpers are wearing those things in Europe and flying down cracks and valleys, but that's like, as far as that's a whole other sport in itself.
Yeah,
wingsuit base jumping, and Disco, our mate, does all that stuff. So, but he's on that next level, and he's the one who filmed me wingsuiting in Iceland. So he was the cameraman. So he's a really good, stable sort of flyer.
So you both didn't do the wingsuits?
Me and Disco did. Yeah, BT was just hanging up with your life on the edge of the chopper.
Yeah. He was like, nah.
No, the whole thing was terrifying regardless. But I was kind of hanging out of the chopper, capturing filming.
Yeah.
The whole thing go down. That was bad enough for me.
You get a tease of everything that you guys have done out of the trailer. So I'm actually looking forward to it coming out on the streaming services so we can get a full picture of everything that you guys have done. What did you go to Iceland for?
Everything. So, like Gils just said, we went in the height of summer, so 24 hours of daylight, which is the weirdest.
Yeah, what's that like? I couldn't imagine that.
It's so bizarre. But yeah, it's kind of just up to us and how far we could push ourselves. Look, and a hot tip, and I've told plenty of people this now, if you were to go to Iceland, go in summertime, and you could dead set not even adjust to their time zone, and just you could do everything of an evening, and there's no one around. And that's kind of what we were doing. But yeah, the glacier kind of lagoon, and then the free diving stuff we did up there. Geez, the water temps were coldest was 2 degrees. I'm at a place called Silfra, and they're lucky we had I got a big custom weddy made by Mambo, like this big, sick 5 mil made out of Japan, the best rubber you can get, and even you could feel every bit of it. But then it's when we're surfing, the water's probably 6-7 degrees. It's not that pure glacier fed. It's kind of the ocean. And the wetsuits actually are so good nowadays that you actually, with the hood on, you find yourself getting hot, because you're covering all your extremities, your fingertips, your toes, your head, and your head just heats up like crazy. So you're out there, kind of letting water in to kind of flush you down, which it's fresh, but it definitely it stops you from overheating. You're just kind of on this balancing act the whole time you're in the surf, because you're hot from paddling and surfing, but then you let the water in, you're cold again. So anywhere from 2 to 7 degrees. You can surf where those kind of icebergs were, those chunks of glacier were. There is a little beach break in front there, but we just going through them was enough. I wouldn't like to be dodging them. I think the age-old saying, you only see a small part of what there really is. And you could hear them in the lagoon. You could hear just in the distance
The cracking.
And they just rotate unannounced, and it's like pretty surreal sounds, like very powerful. It's real nature.
So I want to circle back just a minute. How did you two meet?
So we were like just into high school. Our fathers actually went to the same high school together and have known each other. They knew each other since they were teenagers. Knew one another from just surfing down the beach, but then we just kind of met one morning. Our fathers got chatting and we got chatting, and I know it's pretty. This is like it's probably funny for Gills too. It feels like we're just talking like we're in the movie, but like you literally meet so many people in life. Just constantly, like you guys would know this too from what you guys are doing, where you've been in your journeys. But you meet so many people, and like you just kind of know pretty quickly, like the ones that you know you're on the same wavelength with, and they're just you got the same interests, and you're just gonna get along. And that's basically, we just feel like we knew that straight away. And we're just almost inseparable.
I'll tell you a funny story, right? We'd actually known each other for 20 years. Yeah. 20 years. Our wives were best friends.
Yeah.
And we used to show up to functions and go, there he is. Hey, how you going? And that was it. And
G'day, later.
And it wasn't until all the families about 6 years ago, we all sort of got together and went on a holiday and we went, hey, you're all right. We actually get along quite well.
You're not too bad.
But had been circling each other as, for a good 20 years before we actually went, oh, no, we should do shit. This is fun.
Yeah. Yeah, so it was a bit more than just the handshake. How you going? Yeah, good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it's and I think we kind of, you see a bit of this too throughout the film. We obviously have a lot of people join us on trips and stuff who are, either athletes or filmers or personalities. Like when I say personalities, they're personalities to us. They're not actual like celebrity.
Yeah.
But all this stuff comes out of the film. But all the people that join us are very like-minded, quite easygoing, like up for adventure, like down to earth. It seems like we're really extreme individuals, but we're still quite normal at the end of the day. We have jobs. We have like, partners, like Gilso has a child, like, the responsibilities, the same stuff everyone else does. So we really tried to tie that in the film and just motivate people and just inspire them that, we're no different. Like we're the same. We kind of push ourselves a bit harder probably in like the sports, and we dedicate a lot of our life to it, but we've still got to go through the same shit everyone else does. We got to work a job. We got to all those real world pressures.
And I think it's true because life will pass you by unless you plan to do shit, right? Like if we don't plan something for a year, nothing will happen in that year. But if you set aside a plan, go, right, next year we're going to America, then you make that happen. But unless you make those plans or somebody drags you into those plans, you'll find yourself 20 years down the track with no stories, no adventures or anything to show for it. So I love that you guys have actually made that commitment to do this shit.
Yeah, for sure. I'm a big believer in. I just love putting stuff in the calendar.
Yeah,
and then it's just there, and it's like, you've got your work roster and all that stuff, but then you see something in like 3, 4, 5 months, and it's like that's coming. It's like stimulating.
Yeah, it keeps you motivated, doesn't it?
Yeah. You're striving to something. That's a thing I really love.
Well, I got to about 43, 44, and had one of those moments where, like, I've done nothing. Like, I've done no adventures. I mean, I've had a great job. I've interviewed lots of people and blah, 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 but I haven't actually had anything where I've tested and pushed my boundaries and gotten myself out of my comfort zone, which is one of the things you guys mentioned on your movie. And that's where Bullhead comes in over here.
Yeah, that's me, Bullhead.
Because I've said, I've never climbed a mountain. He's gone, all right, well, we're going to go and climb Mount Morning. Let's go. And I said, well, I had this wacky idea of wanting to go and visit Chernobyl, like the most volatile, poisonous place on Earth. And he goes, let's book a ticket. Let's go. So we've been to Chernobyl.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
That is amazing.
It was mad. It was such a mad trip to tour through this, what was the most dangerous place on the planet at one point in time, and to be walking through there was amazing. A trip of a lifetime, wasn't it?
Yeah. So like we actually spent 3 days out in Chernobyl. So you actually go to what's known as Hotel Chernobyl, and it's just like this dormitory, and you go out there for a couple of nights, and then they walk you through all the abandoned cities and stuff. And we did that for 3 nights, and that was just phenomenal.
So we've got a holiday and a vasectomy. Perfect.
Yeah. And sterile and 3 heads. Yeah, it's great.
Worry about it in 20 years, eh?
Yeah,
but that's like you live in the moment, like, and that's another thing. Like they're off the beaten track. Those kind of like the things you're doing. Like a lot of people will, holiday and maybe do the same thing annually, and then you're like, it's great. Like that's fine. Like we're not saying there's anything wrong with that, like either. But then if you do have that little thing inside you that wants more and wants to like experience more, we tried to pick some sort of obscure places to go to, like, and for example, like we went to Tahiti surfing, but we didn't stay in a hotel by any means. Like the place we stayed in was like, tree huts that were at a friend's place. So it was really like different. Like it's not new places by any means, but we tried to do obscure kind of experiences that really showcase what is out there and what is achievable, and that's kind of our whole motive.
This is the Brown Park Podcast. Now, a word from our sponsors. This is the Brown Park Podcast with Christo and Dion. Now back to the show.
So what's the most dangerous place you've surfed? Because I saw in the trailer there was a bit there where you said this break has to be respected. Where was that?
Dion, just for some backstory, Dion's a mad surfer, loves surfing.
Nothing like you guys. Just we're not even going there. But yeah,
surfing's where it's at, mate. Surfing's so much fun. It's just an endless ocean of fun.
Yeah, I mean, I love it when you're talking about hitting icebergs, or having the icebergs out there. I was thinking, geez, that reminds me of hitting a few rocks at Kira on low tide a few times. So,
I think back to the point I believe talking about like Chopu in Tahiti,
right?
It is like it wasn't massive while we were there, but we got it pretty big, and it's pound for pound, like right there with one of the heaviest waves in the world. Just like insane amount of volume of water in these waves, and just it moves so fast, and you're staring at the reef as you paddle into these things. Our Tahiti sections is from a surf point, the surf content is nuts. Really powerful, a lot of good action there. So, but there's another wipeout too in the trailer from the Cape Fear event, which was on in 2016. I surfed in, and that was like the silliest waves I think they've ever run a surf contest in, and I'm lucky to survive that, which is good.
For someone that's a non-surfer, what do you mean by silly waves? Because I am not a surfer. I'm scared of
3 foot silly to Christo. Yeah. So
I'm afraid of the shark. So I will never do that.
There's more on the land. We'll just tell you that.
No, yeah, I know.
So on this day, sharks were the furthest thing from anyone's minds. In a really sharky area, basically at the mouth of Botany Bay. A very well known zone. But the waves this day was 15 foot of swell. Two-story house or a bit more. And then what was happening is the wave itself that they ran the event in breaks 10 metres from a rock shelf, and then comes out of really deep water. And this 15 foot of swell actually was kind of folding in half because of how shallow it gets so quick. So the wave just basically turned into a thick mound of water volume and just explodes on 2-3 foot of water. Many thought it wasn't surfable on the day, and I was quite honest with people and myself, saying, look, I don't know if these can be ridden, but the decision was made to run the event. I ended up being first heat, and I was just I remember being like
Murphy's Law.
Yeah, terrified, actually really psyched about the whole thing. And that comes back to the point about like trusting your ability and stuff. And it was, look, they only ran a couple of heats that day. The guy, there was a lot of really, really bad wipeouts, like really heavy, violent, thrashing, and one sort of injury from the day, which could have been way worse still when you see the waves. But yeah, all in all, like the day will go down in history. We got to capture it, and it's showcased in the movie, which is it ties everything in really nicely. Just showing what we were willing to do to fund our adventures.
When you're surfing those type of waves, I just want to unpack that for a second because I can never really get it through my head. How do you push yourself over the ledge in those moments? Obviously, you say you've got to trust your abilities, but to keep paddling and not get crocodile arms and go, no, I'm pulling out. I mean, how do you commit and mentally push yourself through that?
Look, so on this day for this event, it was tow-in only because you could not paddle into these waves, but we can definitely like reference that to Tahiti because like it's very similar in the way the waves move, like coming out deep water and like get a ton of volume in them. So it's just a matter of like, you've got to trust your instincts. If you decide to fully commit, the worst thing you can do is hesitate, and then like, you're paddling into a wave and you hesitate and you try to pull back, you're actually in the worst part of the wave, and that's when you end up in the lip. And you're better off falling at the base of the wave than being in the lip. So it's just, for yourself, Dion, if you are like starting to push the limits and you're better off like once you decide you're going to go and you're committing, like just get down and go for it. Hesitation is what will get you flogged.
And it has in the past. I've grown up in the Gold Coast my whole life, and when I was younger, I remember there was a cyclone swell, and I was paddling out going, okay, this is pushing myself a little bit here. And, I got my ass handed to me on a stick at Kira in the cyclone swell because I was about to take off over the ledge and, pulled back and ended up in the lip and went for a nice ride.
Wow.
Yeah, good times.
If you made that takeoff and then made the barrel, like it
would have changed everything. Yeah.
It would have been probably the best ride of your life. And I think that's another thing, because even with Tahiti, for me, like I was terrified of Chopu, and there was a crew of professional surfers there when we turned up, and we were just watching them go over the falls, on every wave. And me and Blake, I was like, how am I going to make a takeoff if these guys can't make a takeoff? No?
Yeah.
And so just watching it and kind of getting your head around it. But once I made one, then I was like, oh, cool. That felt really good. And I kind of get it a little bit. And then I made another one, and I went a little bit deeper, and I made another one. And then, I got a little wipeout. I was like, okay, it wasn't so bad. So it's kind of like after you experience what it felt like to make it and how stoked you were just like, you almost start to stop out and being like, oh, I want one of those bigger ones now. Yeah. And then like if you get one of those big barrels and you're standing in it, it's just like,
Yeah, that'd be mad. Yeah.
Standing in the barrel is like the coolest feeling ever. And so I feel like once you kind of had a taste for that a little bit and you kind of know what it can feel like, once you make it out, then you're kind of like, okay, you're more willing to throw yourself over the ledge because like the risk is worth the reward if you can make it to the end of the wave.
And I guess if we want to just go deep on that, it's kind of like life too, yeah? You've got to push yourself over the ledge and give it a crack, eh?
Yeah, for sure. No, it's definitely a lot of similarities in that sense. You got to commit. You got to, and again, you got to be prepared, and you want to be across everything, and in all that sort of sense, and just due diligence on everything, and just exactly right. Just doing your research and experiencing that sort of stuff.
Yeah, love it.
Life, that's the thing.
I remember this one time I got wiped out of the Wet and Wild wave pool, and
well, there is wave pools now that actually have full proper waves, and you can get fully barreled, and it is a concrete bottom, but it's those wave pools now. It's just like
the one in Melbourne. Have you guys?
There's a couple now.
Yeah, we've surfed there. It's a really fun. It's an ocean style of wave. Like it's almost like the real deal. And as a non-surfer, to be able to have the opportunity to paddle into that decent wave in the right spot, that's the hardest part with surfing, is trying to learn, trying to paddle and trying to get out the back and not to get smashed, and the timing of standing up. And to have those wave pools now, you can really dial in your whole surfing ability, and you can learn so much in the pool, then transition that into the ocean. Like you're years ahead of everyone else, really.
So talking to a couple of surfing purists and then one semi-surfing purist, what do you guys feel about those wave pools? Do you like them? Do you surf them, or would you much rather just go out into the actual surf?
So I love them. I have so much fun in them. At the end of the day, I would always pick the ocean. There's just something like that resonates a bit more about, the open ocean, and that's like Gil's kind of pointed to is the skills and the knowledge and all the years that we put in the ocean. That's why we can understand and we can read, and like that's a challenge in itself. But the wave pools are, I've been down a bunch of times. The one in Melbourne, there's one coming in Sydney too, and I'll definitely be going to that. It is mind blowing, and I just giggle every time I walk through the gates and just see this machine creating pretty perfect, albeit small, like perfect waves. It's nuts.
You used to draw that shit on paper at school.
It's exactly
maths. Yeah.
And I think in a big picture, if it's just going to open the sport up to more and more people. Like, if I think about it, and I honestly think that, it's probably not going to be long until there's a surfing champion from a landlocked country. Like there might be a really good snowboarder who just jumps into a wave pool and just figures it out really quickly, and they were never going to surf. Or, they might put a bunch throughout China with the massive population they've got, and all of a sudden there's just a freak talent that emerges. So I think it's good for the sport. It's really good for the progression of the sport. There's a few different variations. So the one in Melbourne's a certain style. There's a couple throughout America that really push the high performance boundary, which create like an air section. So guys are really pushing the progressive side of surfing massively in these wave pools. So great for the sport. For me, Gil's might be different, but for me, I'd still pick going surfing in the ocean any day though.
Yeah. Have you given the one at Yapuna a crack? That surf lakes? Because that looks pretty mental. They've got the slab section of that, and I've watched a few guys on that, and I'm like, man, that looks a bit hectic.
Yeah, I'd love to go. Just the whole setup looks insane. Like, and I know everyone said it, but it looks like Mad Max.
It does, doesn't it? Yeah.
Mad Max, like and it's blowing smoke. It's like a prehistoric monster.
It's like it's breathing. I mean, I've driven past it so many times when I used to go up there for work, and I'm like, how do I fucking get in there? And I drive past trying to find the road in, but it's obviously through a farm or something to get in there. So,
you got to go.
Yeah, I'd love to. At some point, we'll get there.
We're going to do that.
Go.
I'll watch you.
You're going in, Christo.
Yeah.
We'll put him on the slab straight up.
The same thing, like seriously, like you also said, Chris, there's different there's different settings in these wave pools too. So like, you can have like the elite level, or you can have just like beginner where it's really rolly. And I think up there, the Yapuna one, I think it's the plunger, but it's in a bay, and there's a few different types of waves. So there's going to be one that's really easy and cruisy, and then there's the really intense slabby one, which is nasty. But then so they're making it like open to everyone, which is it's really inclusive, which is a good thing with the wave pools.
I wanted to touch on something that you guys had in the trailer, and you lost a mate. Was this along the journey of what you were doing, or was this what inspired to get out and go and do it?
We actually lost Christian, who was he was there with us from the beginning, as far as like when we were sort of first, brainstorming and trying to figure out what Chase That Feeling was. He was like right there with us. He's a cameraman, filmer, like in the sort of production, sort of editor, sort of producer, and he was always the biggest fan of this. He loves this extreme sports as well. He loved, it's very similar, like-minded to Blake and I. And he actually came along on our trips to film and sort of to capture these moments. And it was in between. It was after our Iceland trip, yeah. So he was speed flying in Switzerland, and he had an accident over there and passed away. So yeah, it was just a huge shock, because he's he was always so good at what he did, but it's just that's the nature of the beast in these sports. It's just like you might make one little mistake and no one saw it happen, so you don't actually know exactly what went wrong.
Was it in a wingsuit, was it?
No, so it was speed. So it's a parachute, that you fly. So they run off the cliff, kind of like a paraglider, but a speed wing. So it's smaller and it goes faster, but then they have skis on them. So you can ski, you kind of skiing down the mountains, and then they launch off a cliff and they fly the parachute down to the next bit of snow and they ski on that bit and they launch off. So it is quite an extreme sport, but, you know, if done correctly, it's, you know, relatively safe, like all these extreme sports. Like if you've done the training and done the preparation, but there was no information that came out of what actually happened, but he had crashed and fallen off, and then his parachute didn't, you know, it wasn't able to carry him, so he basically fell off the cliff and passed away.
Shit.
So we just really wanted to do something special for him in there, because, you know, the project was, we did it all off our own back, like Blake and I, and, you know, Christian was a huge part of it, but just trying to, you know, get a project off the ground. Like, to film all these trips was one thing, but then to try and start to put it all together and try and figure out what it was, it's like it's a huge challenge. And it was always so motivating. Like, a lot of the times we were like, geez, you know, should we keep going? Like, it's just such a slog. Like, all of our spare time, you know, over the last almost 10 years went into this. And, a few moments there was really tough. We were like, should we keep going? And he was always like, mate, you got to keep going. You know, people have got to see this footage, but you got to get it out there. So there was a huge motivation to us just to, you know, get it over the line and get it finished. And then also we wanted to do a special sort of tribute to him in the movie to say kind of thank you for you know, all of his contribution along the way.
Well, okay, so I just want to quickly, before we let you go to dinner, because I know you've got to go, the highlight of the last 7 years, what was the one thing that you, like, I have to go back and do that?
So for me, it's Iceland. Just as a place. It's people say it, and now I've been there. It's dead set magical. Like, the landscape changes. It feels so ancient. There's volcanoes. There's snow, there's fjords, there's, like, you can snowboard, you can surf, there's just natural wonders there. It's a long, long way from Australia, but just it is mind-blowing. It was a sensory overload, and we were there for 2 weeks, and with that summertime, like I said, you could
do everything.
You could not stop for 2 weeks, really, but the waterfalls are insane. Everything about it, like, I think it's just a really special place. And if you Google it or have a look on Instagram at, like, you know, Iceland, anything, it is exactly what you see. So that stands out for me as far as, like, the trip. And they are, I know, a fulfilling life to me is measured by experience. And so the more experiences you have, the more fulfilling your life is. And what we got to experience throughout the whole journey, but then just to narrow down, that Iceland experience was nuts, and I'd love to go back there.
Yeah, like, I'd have to say Iceland as well, to be honest. It was definitely a special trip for us. Obviously, having the 24 hours of daylight. We're a little bit younger then, so I don't know if we could pull off the same amount of stuff that we did back then. But mate, Iceland in wintertime really would attract me. Obviously, the Northern Lights, and then waves that break on a certain part. We only went on a certain sides of Iceland. There's another couple of sides of the island that we didn't get to go to. So I'd love to go back there and surf these waves. And the landscape does change a little bit too. And you then go snowboarding and surfing. In the middle of winter in Iceland it'd be wild, remote. You know, it's
mad. Yeah,
great experience.
Well, we can recommend Chernobyl in case you're looking for somewhere different.
Chernobyl's great, yeah. If you want to go and poison yourself, it's a great place to go.
Feeling too. We're going.
You could base jump off one of the abandoned buildings. There you go.
Definitely lock that in.
It is actually a phenomenal place. We walked through a city called Pripyat, which is like about 3 kilometres from Chernobyl, and it was a city that I'd always wanted to visit because it's literally within 4 hours they had to abandon the entire city. And this was 3 days after it erupted because Russia was saying, no, there's nothing wrong, everything's fine. And then they went, okay, so everything's not fine, get out now. They had 4 hours to pack up a city of 100,000 or 75,000 people. So there's this entire city just sitting there empty.
Yeah.
And it's just amazing to see what nature's taken back.
Yeah.
And the whole building, all the buildings are like just been destroyed but they're still standing. So there's like there's a stadium, a football stadium. And we were standing and they've gone, you're in the middle of the field, and it was just a forest. But then through the forest, you actually see the grandstands that are still sitting there.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it was phenomenal in that respect to go and have a look at something that's, it is classified as one of the most dangerous places on earth. But only one of us went really dangerously close to the poisonous areas, didn't we, Dion?
Well, I had to see how high I could get the Geiger counter. Just have to suss it out. That's it. I'm all in. All right, so we'll do Iceland and you do Chernobyl, and then we'll meet up again. We'll meet up after.
Definitely.
Nice.
Good.
Well, the movie looks sensational. It's coming out on all the streaming platforms. It's going to be on Amazon, Amazon Prime, Vimeo On Demand, and a whole bunch of others. You can check out the website, which is chasethefeelingmovie.com. And a quick plug to Mambo as well. BT and Gilso, best of luck with the movie. It looks sensational, man.
Thank you, guys. Thanks for having us.
Thanks so much. I just want to leave Dion with one thing quickly, just on the surf thing.
All right.
The way of your life's going to be the one you think you can't make. So just put your head down from now on and you go, all right?
All right, I'm in.
There you go.
My wife is going to kill you.
The Brown Podcast.
Why are you happy?
Because I don't want to be